Welcome to the IKF Partners Podcast special, where we explore bold ideas shaping the future of Indian football. Today, we turn the spotlight on IKF Career 360, a groundbreaking initiative by India Khelo Football that goes beyond scouting talent. It builds careers. IKF 360 is designed to empower not just aspiring footballers, but also their families, offering a much needed safety net for parents who support their child's dream. Because even if a player doesn't turn professional, there is still a place for them in the game as a coach, analyst, physio, administrator, media professional, and more. This isn't just about chasing contracts, it's about creating credible, purpose driven pathways within football, backed by expert mentorship, real world exposure, and structured guidance. At its core, IKF Career 360 is redefining success in Indian football. It ensures that every child and every parent can dream boldly, knowing that football can still be a lifelong opportunity, not just a short lived ambition. Welcome to the IKF Partners Podcast special, where we spotlight the leaders shaping the future of Indian football. Today, we are honored to have Coach Massimo, a renowned football mentor whose journey spans elite coaching roles across Europe and beyond. As the founder of MV8 Madrid International Football Academy, Coach Massimo is celebrated for his holistic approach, nurturing not just players but future coaches, analysts, and leaders. Join us where we explore his insights on IKF Career 360, a movement redefining football careers and empowering the next generation to dream bigger both on and off the pitch. Coach Massimo, could you briefly introduce yourself and share your journey in football coaching across Europe and beyond?
Okay, hi. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, talking to you. Okay, obviously as Italian, back in the 90s, growing up in the 90s,
Yeah,
football in Europe, you didn't
yeah,
have many other options. Many
right.
people said, especially places like Italy, Spain, England,
Yeah,
Germany, football is like a religion. You go to
yeah,
the church, and then you
absolutely.
play football everywhere. School, your PE hour was a classic, the teacher, guys, play football, everywhere, challenges in the summer. So football really was everything to me, growing up. And obviously, I play a decent level, nothing spectacular, but the passion was always there.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I was old enough to realize, obviously, I've been studying, I got my diplomas, but football was my passion. So
right.
one of my goals was I want to do something that I love. That's what I try to transmit to my players, and
Right.
make a living out of it.
Yeah, that's
And
that's
that was my calling. I was
yeah.
in Italy, then I traveled a little bit. I went to Australia, for a gap year, and then
Hmm.
I ended up in England. I went to
Okay.
Leeds at the beginning,
Oh, now.
Yorkshire, in the north of England. And that I started to, I did some community work with the Leeds United. They would do lots of community work. And really, the passion started there. I was loving it, coaching young kids. Obviously,
Right.
coming from Italy, they obviously we are very technical and
Yeah,
defensive in a way.
yeah.
Result is everything. Well, England was a little bit more physical, run box to
Right.
box, the high
Yeah.
tempo. So I'm kind of going to coaching. It was a great challenge for me, seeing a different culture in England, be appreciated. Obviously, I was coming from Italy. You're young, but in the 90s, Italy was like really the benchmark of football all
Hmm.
around Europe. People like Maradona,
Right.
Gullit, Van Basten, AC Milan was the greatest team back
Exactly. Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And you had the Juventus with the Platini, with Baggio. Italy really in the 90s was, the best country, like Spain is today or
Yeah.
or England at times.
Right.
So what I did, I started from the community, from the scratch, I started to
Yeah.
get qualification and the passion grow. So I
Right.
ended up in England, obviously, eventually work for professional club, getting my A license. And then from there, obviously the network that I created took me all around the world. So
Right.
everything began, my coaching career started in England.
Right. So that's great background, and the important point that you mentioned, you make a living out of your sport. That is something which a lot of sports professional or the people who wants to,
Yeah.
play for the life, they can't do it. But it's great that you got your calling and you had this opportunity to, explore different areas, and you were able to make the profession from it. But my next question is, what was the reason behind starting your MV8 Madrid International Football Academy?
Yeah.
Like, what is the core coaching philosophy, and what sparked? which
Good.
lead to this?
Very good question. You know, Europe now is getting different. Obviously, now with the internet, everything is
Yeah,
opened up. But back in time, Italy was a defensive. You know, 1-0,
yeah,
you close the defense. England opened my eyes on. I used to love coaching English kids. They never complain,
mm.
never. They were very, you whistle,
Focused.
they play until the end. Really, really good one. Then obviously I work in England, in Spain, sorry, for 10 years. So every kid, even goalkeeper, were greatly technically. They had a
Yeah.
good control of the ball. They were so composed and technical. So after working 5 or 6 years in Spain, I wanted to, as a coach growing, with all my experience, I want to combine a place where obviously also working professionally. I realized that I want to create something where all the young players that come to my academy can solely focus on their football.
Mm.
Having experience with AC Milan, I work around 11, 12 years, even the AC Milan, youths doing scouting, doing international camps. One thing they add very, very cleverly is that you coming as a player, they will sort out all the problem. You have to focus on your football. All
Right.
the little tasks, the language barrier, your paperwork, the food, everything was taken care of. So to me, it was important that every player that came, me and my staff, you know, to me, it was about they will become better because we were training seven, eight
Right.
times a week. My obsession was always how can I accelerate that process? To me, a
Right.
good coach, a good teacher need to understand, looking at you as a player, say, can I maximize that? And
Yeah.
that's what I put in place. We were training seven, eight times a week. The gym included, we do a mentoring every week. We had the motivational video during the week. So I tried to combine all my experience from Italy, Spain, mainly, and England. I tried to combine and create that method that, in my opinion, worked out quite well because when people came from all around the world, Brazilian, New Zealand, many Indians,
Right.
to me, it was about when parents obviously put down the key quest, they were investing a lot of money. Obviously, it was a big effort to
Yeah.
travel the other side of the world. My promises was always your kid will be 5 times better than he is right now. To
Mm.
me, evolution was the key.
True.
Realizing that if you train, you get the distraction away, you totally concentrate on football, on your technical aspect, on your tactical aspect, on your mental aspect, on your physical aspect, that will give you a huge advantage. And that would happen through my career. That was really the spark of looking at a player, not maximizing his potential, and helping now to really fulfill that, the best version of football, obviously,
Right.
wise that he can be.
I think that's there's a follow-up question. You mentioned something very critical, that evolution, and you focused on the efficiency, how to maximize the efforts, how to make the player better, rather focusing on the paperwork and all that stuff. So, do you have one or two methods, like some example, a story on that, which where player was seeing really the difference, or the parents were really some of the examples will be really great.
Yeah. I had a couple of stories, and then obviously the successful story, if you will. Obviously, my methodology was based on one most important thing that I think every coach need to have is man management. When back in the days, you had a coach's way. It's my way or no way. And you can relate to as a family, even in Italy, was that the father, hey, this is the way you do it. This is the way we always done it. And then if you have all, especially you traveling and looking around, then you have a more flexible
Yeah,
approach.
more
You
diverse.
know, yeah, I had a player which is called Soricaba. He was the ambassador of my academy. You will not believe it. That's why I keep telling my players that they must believe it. We were in Madrid. He's an African player now. He played for Elche. Now they got promoted in La Liga. He played at Dijon, Ligue 1.
Hmm.
Dijon. Obviously, you've
Yeah,
been in
Dion, of
France.
course.
Yeah, yeah, Dijon in the south, and he played for the national team. He was playing at really normal level in Madrid.
Right.
And not many people believed in him, really. Not, but I connected quite well. I was a director of the similar academy to mine. I was as a director, and I saw a lot of potential in him, really. But he was beaten up. He was on the bench, warming up. I said, "You must believe in yourself. You really need to work hard on your craft. Get a feedback. You're shooting. How was your game? I try to make him thinking that
Hmm.
it's possible if you keep working on yourself. Don't let the external factor influence you." honestly, when this guy, if you look at my Instagram, of course, I put a little post there. If this guy debuted in the Champions League, really nobody, 99% of people will not bet on that. Again, I'm not trying to brag about myself. It's not about that. The power of you believing in yourself.
Right.
I guess even you, when you started a podcast, yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. That little voice in your head, look where you are right now. So it's really about the manager, a good manager, they need to give a full support to the player.
That's true.
And that's a fundamental. They must believe in themselves.
That's true.
So it really, this guy obviously is my ambassador. We're very close friends. And I like to think that I contribute on him believing in himself because you need to have that person. But he put the hard work, he listened, he was calling me every Sunday night to get the feedback about the game. He was open-minded, and then he worked hard on it. He achieved it. I can tell you, nobody really believed he
Yeah.
could do it.
Right.
And so I obviously, this was the main story, if you will.
I think that's really great, and thank you for sharing this because a lot of players miss out on this important part, believing on themselves, focusing too much on the other factors, external factors, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
and getting constant feedback and working on them is very, very important. So thank you for
I
sharing
agree.
that. Thank you. And moving on to the next question, let's come to the IKF Career 360. So it aims to support footballer not just as players but in diverse roles. So how important do you think it is for the young athletes or young footballers to
Yeah.
consider career beyond professional playing? Like you mentioned earlier in the introduction. So can you just expand this?
Yeah. First of all, I was very impressed. Obviously, I've been in India, I love India as as a country. I've been there now several times, and I traveled around. I went to many, many different places. IKF really impressed me for several reasons. Obviously, I connected with the main guy, Hitesh, Bush, Mr. Bushan, and everything. And what they're doing is fantastic. Really, really is giving any young players the opportunity of having a shot
Right.
on realize their dream. Even if we know that a very small percentage of the people that are going to make it, but really having this in place is fantastic. They're growing, they're connecting, they're really organized. I was really impressed. When we had them at our first meeting, I was really impressed with enthusiasm, with energy. They're working very hard, and that's why I agreed to really collaborate with them. The aims are so genuine,
Yeah.
and that's really important given
Yeah.
push because sport, we know how important sport for young people,
Yeah.
really, really important, especially nowadays that you guys have got so many distractions, if you will. We didn't have that. I mean, technology, the
Yeah.
PlayStations, obviously the social
Yeah.
media,
Social
you never get
media.
bored.
Yeah.
So they go so much on. So sport, and football play, cricket, of course, it play a vital role.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing. I really connected with the message they were sending to us, as a team, obviously the NBA team.
Right.
So I was very delighted to be open to collaborate with them.
Right. So I think for young players, now this is very
Yeah.
critical. Young players always focus on becoming a player. And now you said that not
Yeah.
everyone can become, professional footballers. So when you see young players, how do you advise them? Like, okay, there is different departments as well. There is coaching, there is
Yeah.
analytics, there is administration, there's marketing, there is so many things going on. So what do you see or what do you suggest
Yeah.
for to the young people, young
I
footballers?
think, like what's happened to me, I want to be a player. I want to be, the
Exactly.
new Messi or Ronaldo. Everybody,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess anybody that plays football or any sport dream, when you go to bed or when
Right.
you feel you score a cracking goal or you've been man of the match or people praising you, we all let the fantasy wonder, isn't it? I think it's about I was in a crucial, of course, you got the parents' pressure, obviously, about the studying, get a safe job. The
Yeah.
parents obviously play a vital role on that. Your family,
Right.
they want you to be secure, safe, which is okay. I think nowadays, thanks to the flexibility of the
Yeah.
studying as well, you go online. If you're really mature, you can do both paths,
Right.
you know, and then you have to realize, you have to trust people because
Yeah.
I think I try as a coach, I try to talk a lot to my players if they totally honest, they understand it, they could believe they're going to be a player. Yeah, I mean, I was 24 when I realized, look, stop and look at different option. So there will be a
Mm.
time in our life as a young player where you need to
Mm.
understand Okay, the train is gone, unfortunately. Okay, now what? I
Hmm.
want to be a coach. I want to be a physio, an agent. I want to be part of a club. There is
Right.
so many routes now. It's not like before. I was saying to one of my friends, Ancelotti said from Brazil, he got like 12 people staff. Today
Yeah.
you go assistant manager, fitness coach, a conditioning coach, you go physio, master.
Right.
You got so many figures in a football club.
Yeah.
So I think if you put a passion and you work hard, you will gain through it eventually.
Right.
Excuse me. That's what I believe on. You have to believe it. You have to work hard for it. And I'm sure the opportunity will appear.
Right. And so, how do you think this IKF Career 360 bridge that gap, the 99% and the
Yeah,
1%? How do you think that this particular program or this particular program by the IKF team can bridge that gap, especially in India, where
yeah,
where you see football is not so structured. In Europe, you have a lot of like footballing
yeah,
history. There's a lot of business going through, so there is already a structure. There is already so many opportunities coming up. So what do you think about India, where there is 1.4 billion population,
yeah.
29 states, so many players, young players want to make a career in football, and we just are getting started. So how do you think this program bridges that gap?
Yeah, I think, you know, if I look at India historically, obviously your cricket, you are, you
Yeah.
know, on top of the world, let's say,
Yeah.
obviously beside Australia, England. Okay, I remember at some time, okay, you
Yes.
were
Hockey
as well the
was,
benchmark.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. So I feel India in a sporty country. Football is huge. We know that,
Yeah.
now if you talk about Ronaldo, Messi, everybody now, football obviously is hasn't got any comparison. You are trying, it's hard, it's difficult. I don't want to lie to you. It will take
Yeah.
time, but I feel that the moment one of the weakest link, if you will, in India is that when I grew up in Italy, I look at Juventus. There are so many legends. I can say one day I want to be that. You are the real direct
Yeah.
contact. Like
Right.
young people in India go with the cricket. You
Yeah.
got people, real people. They can say, "Wow, he did it.
Exactly.
I can make it.
I
He
can make
made
it.
it." Sorry. So at the moment, a role model wise, you don't have many. So that's why I understand the parents of the kids when they get dropped or they don't have that reference point as if I make a play for Bangalore, Kerala, I can turn my life around.
Right.
At the moment, you don't have that role model, in my opinion.
Right.
But I think, how can you solve that? As you said, IKF is the beginning.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there will be many more. If you put a structure, I think, I've been coaching for more than 20 years. One thing that I saw in a player making that shift was when they realized they're getting better at something. Getting a player where, a simple example, in Europe, we work a lot of technique. You do lots of juggling with the
Yeah.
ball, lots of controls. Kids come along, he cannot do five. At the end of the year, he does 100.
Yeah.
So that's something that progress will make people believe because you're
Yes.
going through that path
Yeah.
and then you realize, look how close I go, look how much I go
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I had many people from the NBA because it was a financial big investment, as you can imagine, coming to Europe, spend all year there. But many people went to university. Through that process,
Yeah.
they got something out of it. So,
Yeah.
like you said, you went to Europe, you saw the difference. You talk about
Yeah.
all the different organizations. That will be look. Oh, you go to US.
Yeah.
You're in a country where they're so evolved from infrastructure point of view. That's when India need to, I think, copycat, if you will.
Right.
They
Right.
need to put infrastructure in place and getting people, in this
Yeah.
case, from Europe to really show the right way and get different opinion and try, but the player, obviously, once they get good at something, I'm sure the momentum will be built and
Right.
they will be able to progress further.
Right, right. I think that's what one of the key features that I also liked about this IKF Career 360 is their university connect. And you mentioned that people come from different countries and they study, so they at least get something out of
Exactly.
it. So I think that is also one of the interesting point that how young kids can also play football, can also manage their studies, and at the end of the day, if they couldn't become the professional athlete, they can be part of some team or they
Yeah.
can be part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really great insight. Coming back to the coaching and training insights, so what are the fundamental and most important skills and qualities that you look for when you are training young players? I will say young players, as in the age gap for me, especially, is like from age 5 to maybe 16, 17, because that is the only
Okay.
time when you can really make a
Yeah,
player.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. I think, again, um, again, Europe, obviously, growing up in Europe, my reference point is in
Yes,
Europe,
Europe is
when I try,
fine because
yeah,
we want to
exactly.
learn from
No,
Europe,
no, no, even
not.
India. No, no, I was
Yeah,
coming to your
yeah,
point, sorry.
yeah,
When I travel outside Europe, there is a big gap, I'll be honest with you,
yeah.
of coaching understanding. You made a really interesting question. I think one thing that I noticed when I was in India, the people, some random coaches there I saw, they were coaching an 8 years old like a 14 years old. To be able to be a good
Mm,
coach, helping players, they go
mm,
different stages of development.
right,
We in Europe, let's say, we call from 5 or 6 to 12, it's called the golden age, which
mm,
means they're like a sponge. They need to
mm,
work technically. Coordination work technically. You
right.
cannot talk about tactics when they're 7 or 8. You
Yes.
cannot do physical of too much fitness when you are. That's what I feel that when you come outside Europe, generally speaking, the USA, obviously I was in England for many years, they don't understand that there is important stages they need to follow. You need to find that balance between the young, they need to have a great fun, they need to play football, they need to do lots of technical work. And then that will build into game understanding.
Yeah,
And that will lead to decision making, do understand your positioning. Then obviously you can implement the physical part, and then you can
right.
implement the mental part where, to become a player is not enough only to train 3 times a week. You need to go home and do your work, your extra work, which means stretching after training or do your skip rope or your ladder work to improve that quick fitness. I
Yeah,
think in India, what I noticed, there is a little bit confusion. That's why with IKF, we're talking a lot about IKF do a great job. My main input will be about creating a format that can help young players to understand, to have a clarity where they are and where they need to be and
right.
what to work on. That clarity on, you didn't make it, but if you work in a certain aspect of your game, you will get there. So
Yeah,
really give it that direct, clear feedback on, there is 4 huge pillars in football, as you know, the
right.
technical, the tactical, the physical, and the mental.
Man,
They need to understand this concept, and not many people do. Because
right.
in India, I felt like Italy in the 90s, if you will, people think they can dribble three, score a goal. They say, wow, I'm Neymar. But a coach doesn't need that. You can do
Yeah,
that once. You can't dribble everybody
right.
score. So they need to understand if you are center back, if you are full back, it's a two different world apart, or you're a
Right.
goalkeeper. So they need to understand positioning and the important what you need to do. I think clarity is the key word here, without
That's
getting too
true.
much into
Yeah,
technicality. Understanding that you're good on doing this, but you can be better on doing something else. And that
right.
specificity of information, I think, is vital.
Right. I do have a follow-up question on that, but I'll
Yeah, of
come
course.
at the later
Yeah, of course, no
part.
problem.
But in terms of the coaches, we talked about the how different young players can be taught, and there are age brackets where they have to be trained on certain aspects, certain key
Yes.
pointers, right? So, what about the coaches? As a coach, you know how do you elevate yourself, because you are constantly thinking about the players, you are constantly making different
Yeah.
strategy for them, and how they individual,
Yeah.
how to groom them individually. So what about the coaches? What are the plans and how they can become the a better version of themselves, and how they can improve?
Yeah. I think from my, you know, I do believe a lot in life as a change enormously. Life is different nowadays, guys.
True.
Really, young people go access so many. As I said before, I grew up with a coach. I miss a pass, 3 laps of the pitch. It was very dictatorship, if you will.
Mm,
That was the way it was. I think the key word today, I did lots of training through Milan to different young coaches. I think the key word is man management. Each
mm,
individual is different.
yeah,
Now, psychology play a vital role. It's
yeah,
really, really important because there is player where you can praise them, they give you 100%, if you praise another player, he will give you 20%. He doesn't
Mm.
want to. What I realized coaching for so many years full time at professional level, you need to be a really good observer. Your job is to really create a boundaries, beating obviously your camp, because you must have rules in a professional environment. They need to understand, the
True.
punctuality, the respect, all that code of conduct, if you will,
Yeah.
that you need to have, like in any families, in any school.
Yeah.
And then what I find in myself is variety is important. Even now, if there is a new book coming out, I will get it. A
Right.
new drill, a new sessions. No, you don't need to be obsessed. I'm a little bit freak on that. I'm obsessed about think about new passing drill. How can I
Right.
because players really enjoy to have a variety.
Right.
When
Right.
when players see that you are knowledgeable and you can help them to improve, they will follow you.
Right.
All I tell young coaches is about study, improve yourself all the time, have a
Mm.
variety of session. Communication play a vital role. So it's
Right.
really about evolving. That's the key word that we used at the beginning. You need to evolve. You need to
True.
observe,
True.
and then through the session, you will get a feedback. Maybe a drill was a little bit too boring, or maybe was a longer queue there. And you have to be able always to adapt and try to improve obviously, not only the player, but as a coach. Because I believe, you feel special when you have a good drill and the players give you 110%. You feel
True.
as a coach. And that's, I think, is the most important thing. The evolution, don't ever forget, we as a coach, the players are the most important part. It
True.
really is about them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can build a little ego. As a young coach, you win a couple of games, you think you're Guardiola Mourinho, and you have to keep your feet on the ground,
Yeah.
to making sure it's all about the players and,
Not
the
you.
evolution of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
That's
are
what I
your
believe in more.
true north, as there is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting insight, and I think I had also a similar question around
Yeah.
incorporating leadership, discipline, and life skills in this training program. So, do you have any? I mean, you have already given so much of insight. So, do you have any particular process? How do you instill these qualities in the young athletes, young footballers through your program?
I think again, it's that balance that we talk about,
Yeah,
the balance of understanding, obviously my first approach when I go to do some workshop all around is about really be clear,
yeah,
be clear about what I'm there to do. Is it really important that you tell them, look, guys, two things are important today in every session? You can say, kids might be a little bit overexcited. They say, like, today I want two specific things. I want you to fully enjoy as much as you can, and you need to give you 100% concentration.
right,
I will explain
focused.
you things you need to be able to understand. Really, really important. Have fun. Don't feel nervous, but try to understand. If you don't, please ask me again and we will do it. Because I
Mm,
think it's really important that the the kids be able to empty themselves, to see something new and absorb it. So really, really important that approach. Friendly approach, but still you in charge. So
right.
it's really, I think kids feel that no authority, that the fact of say, okay, I'm gonna learn something new,
Yeah,
and then obviously you have to, especially at the beginning, there will be maybe a kids that's a little bit more lively or a little bit more, and that's where you have to intervene and set
yeah,
the boundaries, and then you can let it go. But I think working for a professional club, it give you that professional approach.
right.
You are there to do a job. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
still a sport. We need to enjoy, of course. The environment need to be friendly, if you will, but you still need to put your part.
yeah.
Sometimes I told you, as a player, they can be a little bit selfish. It's all about
That's
me,
true.
me, me. Give the ball, me, me. So you have to try to manage that. Don't
Yeah,
make them lose their interest, but also tell them, look, this is a
right.
team sport, and But it's true again. It's like life in a way. You give
True.
it some rope, and then you pull it again, and then you observe, and you step in, and then you let it go. It's a really matter of trying, and because each group, each person, you know better than I do. You look at your friends, for example, 10 of your friends, they're all totally different. And,
Absolutely.
that's what players are, and so you have to try to, again, manage that.
Man manage, yes. At the end of the day, it's yes. That's I think I quite like this approach of man management. I think that's very much applicable everywhere. So I think I totally agree with you on that. So I think next topic, next
Yeah.
important point that I want to address with you is about the parents. Now I'm sure in the Europe, the parents have different mindset. In India, the parents have different mindset. So I want to maybe get your feedback on
Yeah,
the
that's a
European
great point.
parents and the Indian parents. Like, what are the
Yeah,
expectation and how do you translate it to them? Like, okay,
yeah,
this is going to be the journey for him, or maybe this is going to be the
yeah.
journey. This is going to be the process. So how do
I'll give
you
you a couple
talk them?
example on that. Yeah, that's another great question because they play such a vital role. In Italy, in Europe as well, has been a big issue,
Mm.
really huge. Uh, some some club in Italy, like Juventus, Inter, they don't even allow parents. They drop the kids. There is security there. They don't even allow to watch the game
Oh.
because the kids. Some club do that because
Mm.
parents can be. You know, it's hard to look at your kid, maybe get kicked, or the referee doesn't whistle. So emotionally, there is
Right.
many
Right.
factors involved, and that's why big club don't want that to happen.
Right.
And I don't agree with extremity. I think again, like we said before, there is, you know, parents. You need to understand all the point of view. You need to, I think, without some simplistic, you need to communicate with parents. You need to tell them, look, this is the way it is our club, the way it works. Please do not distract your kids. Don't tell them what to do. If you do, obviously you have to communicate with them. But what I did back in England, I remember this example there. I remember a game, I was coaching. One of the parents, we lost 4-0 away. Parents approached me. He was really upset. Coach, I don't understand. My son with school played very well. And, what's going on with you? Why are you playing there? And I was listening. Obviously, Fonny lost. We as a coach, when you lose, it's like the world
Yeah.
collapse. And anyway, I took in. I said, okay, I respect your opinion. I disagree, but I respect you. Can we talk on Tuesday? And I thought over. And I said, look, your kids are really. And then I look at the evaluation that I was doing for the kids. He was doing quite well. I said, look, can I give you an advice? If you're not happy about me as a coach, go speak with the director. Change club or change age groups. But
Mm.
I think the key, what I'm trying to say is that kids need the parents' support. And we
Right.
need to work all together. So it's important if a parents realize that the environment is not helping the kids to grow, you should go because if you pull one arm and the parents pull another arm, the
Yeah.
kids
It's
is really in
confused.
trouble.
Yeah.
And exactly, if the parents inside, for example, when I work in England, we had two huge evaluation to the year. One in November, which you spend 15 minutes with the kid, you explain what is doing well, what need to improve, and the parents go like a few questions to ask. And one was in May at the end of the season. I think parents need to be taught. Parents play a vital role because they do sacrifice, they drop them off, they pick them up, they invest money, they invest time. I think parents, as you just said, they need to be communicated in a more effective way, I think. And
Right.
obviously, if there is parents that are a little bit over the top, you have to stop them and say, okay, you can't do that. But I think having the parents on board is a big asset for the player, for the benefit of the player.
Right. And what about the Indian, maybe since you have also some
Yeah,
experience in India and now
yeah,
IKF Career 360 is also like using the platform to make aware these parents and the kids like what is going to be
yeah,
your career path and how you can choose the path. So what is your take on that, on the Indian
yeah.
parents especially?
Indian, obviously, I've been the coaching for a little while. They've been very polite. Obviously, coming from Europe, I get
Yeah.
lots of. I don't know if you call it respect or
Respect, it is
gratitude.
respect because I'll give you
Yeah,
this quick feedback because
of course.
Indians have been watching football for last 30, 40 years. They have been
Yeah,
watching Man United,
of
Liverpool,
course.
Arsenal, Juventus, Spanish football.
Yeah,
So they take, pride when a coach like you or a player like you come to India. It's like a big deal for someone who has been watching them for so much of time. So that's why there is a bit of respect for any European
I
who
felt
is
that.
coming. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's good to see. Again, it was a great experience. They were very open-minded. We had a discussion at the end, and I think I felt it two ways in a way. They were so happy to look at their children, really loving it, enjoying it. A
yeah,
different style, obviously, I was putting drills, but in other way they were worried about it. Always, they need to study. I go to study there.
yeah,
There was the end product worry where say you need a piece of paper, and I saw that in their eyes. Yeah, they love sport. They still see us, okay, he's having fun, but there is no an end product to it. And again, I was saying that many players, Chiellini from Juventus, there is so many players that got a degree.
Right.
Now Chiellini is back at the Juventus. You remember Chiellini, the
Yeah.
defender?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now he's back at Juventus as a director, sport director. So I think if a kid is mature and he makes lots of sacrifice, he can still pursue a studying career and a sport career.
Right.
So it's really encouraging. Your kid is doing 100%. In fact, I remember parents who were saying that they were so excited to come to my training. They were doing the homework quicker. They dropped the PlayStation, the FIFA game for for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks, and so it's really about shifting the attention,
Right. Right.
and tell it really again, information is power. Parents need
Yeah.
to understand. Let's not lie. Let's not be hypocritical. Only 1 or 2% that will make it to the top. But there is still so many, again, like we said before, so many routes can get you involved back in. You meet the right manager, you can evolve, you can play at a good level.
Right.
So I feel the parents need to know they have options, and there are options out there.
So parents need to be told by the coaches and the
I
stakeholders, like,
think
look,
so. They need to put into
they
structure.
need they
Yeah,
need to
parents need to
be
be taught.
honest,
Yeah,
right? Honest and quite transparent. And the point that you mentioned, that they have to also manage the studies, because as Indians, our parents have quite strong focus towards the education, rather than the
understandably.
sports, because of so many reasons, maybe cultural or historical or whatever the reasons are. But now they are suddenly realizing that sports and being physically fit is also very important. Especially, there are some of the
Exactly.
movements in the last decade where I see now parents are also making this as a habit. Even the parents are also trying to get involved in the sport. So this is really great. And I think being transparent with the parent is very important for the
Yeah.
coaches. And I'm sure many of the Indian coaches should learn that, realize that, and imbibe that, so that thing in
I
themselves.
think, yeah, you need to educate them. You need to give the time to the coach, the parents.
Exactly.
You need to have something in place where they need to know. Because again, as a parent, if your kids come back home, he's happy,
Yeah.
smiles, he connects. Sport can teach how to win, how to lose, how to cry, how to be happy, how to enjoy. There is so many emotions that
Right.
a PlayStation or stay back in your room you won't give. So it's a life learn really,
Yeah.
path, and that's so important. And parents again, they need to understand,
Yeah.
they need to understand what's happening. And sometimes parents don't,
Yeah.
and I think it's important. Every soccer school, they need to implement a communication part with the parents, a regular one, maybe
Absolutely.
once a month, have a meeting. I,
Absolutely.
I think that's huge.
Totally, because at the end of the day, even everyone has expectations, and I mean, setting the
Exactly.
expectations right is very, very important from the beginning.
I agree.
So now coming back to the your global perspective, since you have been to Australia, US, UK, so many different places, now India as well. So what do you think Indian footballers and coaches can learn from European models to build sustainable careers? Now I understand a
Yeah.
lot of things because I have been to the that places, but I can't give the right advice. So you being in the professional setup, what do you advise to the footballers and the coaches?
I think again, as we said at the beginning, I totally agree with you. You need to start from the grassroots. You're
Yeah,
seeing a national level, you get a Spanish coach, you get a top professional player, it won't make it.
yeah,
That's just, yeah, it's good to have people that been at the top of the game, but it's not enough. You need
right.
to create talent. Talent start from the grassroots. How government or even the private sector need to invest the money because
Mm,
it's hard to do. Now I'm full-time coach I was lucky enough, since 2006. So nearly 20 years really full-time. But the beginning was hard when I was part-time. You need to
mm,
have another job to decide. Because if you coach 3 times a week, it's hard to make a living.
right.
That's why it's hard to invest on the courses are quite expensive.
Yeah,
That's why I can understand that coach not being motivated to get better. Because not only the player, but even as a coach, you're in India, you love football, you want to be a pro coach. But even if you make to the pro club, at youth level, you won't get enough money to make a living, to make a
yeah, that's
family,
true.
and to build it. So that's why I feel the grassroots is important to understand. To create good player, you need to put some grants, in place. So
Right.
young coach can be motivated to say, okay, I make
Yeah.
some money, I'm gonna travel 1 month to Spain.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do, obviously, workshop even with IKF.
Yeah.
People need to go and see, like yourself. You got a very good understanding of the way Europe works. So you can go back, implement a couple of ideas,
Yeah.
but that need to be more
Accelerated.
energized because
Accelerated.
exactly
Yeah.
that's the word. Well done, exactly.
Right.
There's no magic formula. I mean, I was talking to another colleague, and we talk about USA. You look at USA example. They tried with Pelé back in the days in the 70s. It didn't work out. Obviously, they go basketball, baseball, American
Yeah.
football. They tried with David Beckham. Beckham, the Beckham that was huge. I don't know if you remember, but Beckham was as big as Ronaldo,
Yeah.
compared to the different
Exactly.
ages.
Yeah.
And now, really,
Messi.
USA, yeah, obviously with Messi, of course. Now many people went there, Busquets. But one thing that I admire about USA is that they know the benchmark yet. They
Yeah.
will not win the World Cup any sooner. But
Yeah.
you look at people like Pulisic, play for
Yeah.
AC Milan, play for Chelsea,
Yeah.
McKennie, play
Yeah.
for Juventus, play I
Yeah.
think in Germany as well. If you look at the list of yes play in Europe, it's quite impressive.
Right.
And USA was they were. I mean, you look at some footage in the 80s
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
90s. USA they were laughing because they all they did was with the hands. Playing a sport with the feet was like a disgrace.
Right.
So I feel the India need to understand, need to be humble enough to say, stop complaining and make excuse. Let's put some energy. Bring people in like myself, Spanish,
Yeah.
Portuguese, like IKF, got many collaboration with the Poland, sorry,
Yeah.
UK, Portugal, Spain. So, because people like yourself, young people, once they understand it, I'm sure if you be part of a club, I'm
Right.
sure you will have your saying about the input. Yeah, at the
Right.
moment in India, it's just at the basic level,
Right.
you need to change that.
That's true. And I really want to talk about the US example as well because I also stayed there.
Of
And
course.
I mean, I get to learn a lot from the US, even though they were not so good in football right now as well. I don't like to watch MLS, to be very honest, because
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
you see the
No, they're
quality
paid
yourself.
to,
But
yeah, yeah,
one thing is great in the US is this university. They put a lot of money in the young
exactly.
athletes. They
Yeah.
put so much of
Yeah.
infrastructure because
Scholarship.
exactly. I
Yeah,
was I
huge.
was in CMU, around CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, which is one
Yeah.
of the top 10 universities in the world, and they have like free infrastructure for anyone. Anyone can go and play. So
Fantastic. Yeah.
when the young people get such safe and such good environment, obviously there will be changes. Now, of course, a
Of
US team
course.
couldn't make it to the top. That's fine, but US women's team, you see, they made it to
Yeah,
the
they won the
top.
World Cup many times. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, they are the benchmark. Yeah,
So
I agree.
I think that there's a story. There's a good story, and I'm sure maybe US team will be in the top 5 or 10,
Maybe eventually.
maybe,
Yeah, they will
maybe.
be. I'm sure they will. Yeah, yeah,
But I think that's what I think. I take this feedback from the US culture, and I want that to be implemented here in India because there are a lot of infrastructure in universities that needs to be revamped. And there needs to be some scholarship, there needs to be some programs run by university where they call the young students who are good in
yeah.
athletics or sports or football, and they give them incentive to play that further.
Exactly.
And then maybe we can say maybe in 5-10 years we see that
I agree.
some of the players, because right now what's happening, we have 17 players from 17 to 20 22, they don't get enough play time, and
Yeah,
when they don't get enough play time, they can't perform in the national team or in the big clubs. So that's a challenge.
yeah.
Probably I
Oh,
think.
good observation. Yeah, I agree. I think with India, it's funny that when I look at India, I look at the cricket. In Italy, we haven't
Yeah.
got clue. Obviously, living in England for 12 years, I went to Australia as well for a year.
Yeah.
So I kind of understood cricket. And you create such a great format in cricket. I
Yeah.
spoke while I was in India, in Pune, traveling
Yeah.
around. Young kids, they were so inspired. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to that school. I'm going to study there. They were so driven. You already have. All you need to do, really,
Exactly.
without
Copy
sounding
that model
again,
and play.
exactly. It's all about shifting that.
Shifting the
And
focus.
that's what I'm sure the India eventually, because the new generation, I read a few articles with our staff, with the NBA team. And, the new generation in India playing football. That's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The percentage is growing year after year
Yeah.
because the influence for the stand of the social media, obviously the
Yeah.
World Cup, these big figures, they will help that. it's a long process. Look, let's not be naive about it. It's a long process. It starts with you, be the change that you want to see, really. When you're involved in
Exactly.
a football club, let's have a conversation. That's how it starts. IKF is a huge,
Right.
IKF can influence so many different,
Yeah.
organizations.
Right.
It will happen. It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
totally sure.
Yeah, I think that's the way, and I hope things are changing. Look, I was also talking to Hitesh from IKF, and I was saying that I witnessed this match trial
Yeah.
in Pune, and I saw the finals. The quality of game has changed for sure because I see
Yeah.
the kids. I go back to 10 years before, and there was not so much of quality. There was not so
Yeah.
much of
Yeah.
footballing
Definitely.
intelligence. But now things are changing. And with this
Yeah.
IKF doing every season, I think young minds are getting more motivated, kids, parents, everyone.
Exactly.
So I think that's really great. Things are changing. However, our expectations,
Of
sometimes
course.
it's really funny that Indian have such high expectations when they have not even worked on the grassroots. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
expectations that India will, maybe qualify for World Cups or, perform, be
Yeah.
the
That's a
best in
dream, of
it.
course.
That's a wishful thinking, and I think it will take some time.
Yeah.
So we should have some
Yeah.
practical
Exactly.
approach.
You need to act like yourself, get interest or Mr. Butch and Ita.
Yeah.
So that's an initiative you need to have. Hopefully I can give you a couple of new ideas. Maybe some
Yeah.
Portuguese coach can give you some more, you know, um, and a good thing to see, link it to what you were saying. If you go to Europe, there is many private academy, like the
Mm.
NBA Academy. There is so many Indians. And what I like about Indian young players, where they were so curious, they knew they were there. They felt that I am in Europe. This is my dream, it can happen. And they worked so hard.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing was that when we discussed with the young coaches in India, your background is so weak in a way. That's what I feel. The coaching the Indians there and making them better will reduce that gap. When they go to Europe, they're a little bit lost from a tactical
True.
point of view. They're not strong enough. They don't know. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
come to Europe with a bigger gap. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will gain.
There
They
is
will
language,
improve.
there is culture, there's a lot of
Exactly. Yeah,
problems
no,
with
that's of
that.
course. But I feel that if you train better in India, once you get to Europe, the gap will be
Felt. Yeah. That's
less.
true.
You
That's
know what I
true.
mean? That's the thing that
The
is very
fundamentals,
important.
at least the fundamentals will be covered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well done. Exactly. To understand what
Yeah.
my technique to be right, tactically, I'm a fullback. I
Yeah.
need to understand what to do with the ball, without the
Exactly.
ball. Nothing crazy Guardiola stuff, but
Yeah.
just simple. I got the ball, I do this, I
Pass
got
the
the ball.
ball.
And that's what we have to
Yeah.
train. Because
Yeah.
especially tactically in India, I feel that a lot of work need to be done from a
True.
tactical point of view,
Totally.
and
Totally
so
agree. So I think since we are talking about the tactics, now you also see there is a lot of mindset change, game change, a lot of variation. We talk about Guardiola, but then there is a lot of the team sitting on the AI part and the analytics part,
of course,
crunching the data, watching the
yeah.
matches, using AI. So what is the next wave of this game? How is it going to evolve further, since now there are AI integrated
Yeah.
into the into football through, and then there are sensors as well
Yeah, no,
tracking
definitely. I'm
each
very
and
open.
every
Yeah.
data. So what do you think of that?
Good question. That's the future, guys. It's happening,
Yeah.
without ChatGPT and all the, Elon
Yeah.
Musk and everything
Yeah.
happening. I mean, in the football world, obviously, we have discussions, we have a panel, obviously, I've got colleagues, professional, they're coaching top clubs, and we talk about it. We still believe, I believe as well, I agree on the fact that technology helps.
Yeah.
Technology definitely helps for the statistics, but I still believe that the again, it's a people sport. You
Yeah.
still need to deal with the people. You
Right.
can't put a number to a player. You
That's true.
cannot do that.
Yeah.
Even if there was that great movie, I don't know if you watched it, it was very interesting, Moneyball with
Yeah, of
Brad
course I
Pitt.
watched Brad Pitt.
Really
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
about the statistics. That helped. That was great because many
Yeah.
people implement that. You look
Yeah.
at the player, that will help. But you need to be able to use it because you still deal with the person. I feel that my experience having as a player, as a coach, is really important you connect. I
Right.
don't know if you play football at some level, but when you got the trust of the coach,
Yeah.
you'll be happier.
Best. Yeah.
And that's why I keep talking about management. He's
Yeah.
still a person. and your emotion is vital.
Right.
Because I tell my player, I always use this example analogy. Think about the best game that you have in your life, like with your school, with your
Right.
friends. That's your benchmark.
Yeah.
If you play 80% of the game at that level, you'll be very successful.
Right.
The problem is with the roller coaster of emotion, a player can't really do that. And that's
Right.
what we try to train. You show me that you can play at that level. Now, why not reaching that?
Right.
And that's the coach need to find a way of taking there because you show me you can do it.
Yeah.
I think it's still the emotion are vitally
That's true.
important. People, Ancelotti, for example, quick example. People say it's the best coach in the world.
Yeah.
Numbers say that. Yeah, you might like the style of Guardiola, you might like Klopp, you might like
Yeah.
Tuchel. I respectable, but numbers say differently. If you look at Ancelotti, I had the fortune of meeting him personally. He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
He makes you feel special.
Right.
Even when you meet, the way he shakes your hand, the way he looks in your eyes, the way he talks to you, and that's man management.
Right.
A player need to have that.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel is success of coaching Milan,
Yeah.
Juventus, Chelsea,
Or
PSG,
Madrid.
Real Madrid, now Brazil. I think that's the most important. On the strategy, on the tactics. Of course, everything are important. But
Right.
ultimately, to me, the man management factor
That's true.
is the
Yeah.
pinnacle of the pyramid.
Recently, even Ancelotti mentioned in that interview, he said that you can make any system, any processes, but you don't
Yeah,
win football with system and processes. You win with the players. And what you said now is so connecting because he has such great connect with the players that they can,
absolutely.
bring the
Yeah,
best. And we have seen like there are so many Madrid fans in India, and they're crazy fans, and they love Ancelotti, and I now understand why it is there, because he has a
yeah,
great personal connect. And at the end of the day, you can use AI, you can use a lot of data, but
exactly.
that's just
Yeah,
a tool. Most important part is the communication.
exactly. I agree totally. Yeah. No, good point. Good
Right.
question. Well done.
So finally, I think we are at the end of the this session. What is the message to aspiring footballers, their families, and the IKF community who are working very
Yeah,
hard, like this now fourth, fifth season, and they are like now expanding into 125 cities in India, going
yeah,
to those level where there was no football. So, what is your message to the IKF team, to the
yeah.
community, to the families, to the players, for them, maybe
I
the
think
for the
everything
football.
starts with a belief. I mean, 5 years is wow, 125 city. IKF is doing an impressive job, really. I mean, I was so impressed. I listened to them, the hard work they're putting on, watch so many games, and get so many people involved. They're already doing great, but can do better. They can always do better. And I feel they need to look for the progress where areas where you can improve. Like we
Right.
discussed many topics, certainly allow parents to understand what's going on. I think is very
Mm.
important. That
Mm.
support, the
Right.
parents understand, they got control, of the kids, development. I think is very
Mm.
important.
Right.
So they really need to. That's what we're trying to do with them. I think I hope I can help them with not with the bets. I don't want to use that word, but with the format, with different variety where
Yeah.
player. I feel that uh, when they told me about this, obviously I took a couple of days to think. I think it's important to understand one thing, for a kid, the hardest moment of my coaching career was at the end of the season, I need to release players. Can you
Right.
imagine when obviously I did all the age groups, 12 years old, 13 years old, coach, playing a professional club, getting promoted in school, coming there, and you tell, I'm sorry, I need to release you. You look at their
Right.
faces, your world collide really, really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a life, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of life. But I feel one area that we talk with IKF and we hopefully will implement is to make player to understand not everybody will make it.
Yeah.
But you can have a clarity program, and a path where you can improve. Giving a
Mm.
proper feedback where the area that we mentioned, technical, tactical. I think when you go, let's say we had an interview or you went to school, your communication was great, but your format maybe can be better.
Mm.
You know where
Right.
to work on. You go and dig some research. I think if the parents and players got clarity about where they are and where they need to be, I think that will give you a scope Like
Right.
Cristiano, I admire Cristiano very much, being 40 and being on top of his game. I remember one of the story they was telling was, because I use all this story with my players to
Right.
motivate them.
Yeah.
Cristiano was a little boy, obviously. He was, not well off as a family,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
parents, they weren't very well off. So one of the coach told him, Cristiano, you're very talented, but you're very skinny. Your body, you're too slim. You know what he did? He got obsessed about his physique. Look at him now,
Yeah.
40, but he's like 26. I think they
Right.
tried to do the body. So it's really important to understand that, okay, you're not ready now, but look at the player. Holland is from
Right.
Norway. In Europe, we laugh when you talk about Norway. You look at
Yeah.
Odegaard now. There is so many places come from a country where 10 years ago was impossible to come,
Right.
isn't it? So I believe one day Indian will deliver a top player. I'm totally confident on that.
Right.
They need to believe that it's possible.
That's true.
And they need
That's
to
true.
try to give the right information where you
Yeah.
didn't make today, but you can come back next year if you work on this
Yeah.
area and you'll be better. Try
Right.
to really give a more specific feedback. I think that would be one of the most
Specific and
important area.
transparent. Yeah. Very
Exactly,
transparent.
exactly. I think that would be the main message.
Right. I think that's so true. I mean, I think we discussed this earlier that expectations alignment is very important. Giving people the real picture is really, really important rather than showcasing, okay, you know, you are
Yeah,
going to be
exactly.
the
Yeah,
Ronaldo or Messi. No, you are not right now. But there is a
yeah,
process which you follow every day.
exactly.
Maybe you can, or maybe you can
In the meantime, you
surpass.
can study,
Yeah,
you can do
yeah, you
different things
can
because it
different
doesn't really
things.
take 8 hours
Yeah,
a day. It's
yeah,
really showing them a prospect of the day. You need to
exactly.
spend an hour or two every day on your biggest dream.
Right.
You still got time to study. And don't throw your PlayStation away. Instead of play 3 hours, play an hour and a half. You
Yeah.
still with a good, again, man management or time management, they will say
Right.
you can still
Efficiency.
do it. I think showing them, sometimes they're confused. Again, they get,
Yeah.
is that roller coaster emotion. They look at game, I can do it, and then like a flame.
Yeah.
So I think the coach, IKF or clubs can help them to really have more clarity on
Yeah.
that, and that will
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure help them.
Yeah. I think right now there's a lot of structure because in a decade ago there was none. So I think
Yeah,
things
it's
are
growing,
changing. Yeah,
definitely.
it's growing, and I am also hopeful that things are also going to get better thanks to your support and so many
Thank you.
players and coaches like you who are, putting their efforts to make sure, okay, Indian footballing community also grows, and then, we also have some more competitive games in the FIFA, and we see
Yeah,
diversity.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. You got the
Yeah,
right enthusiasm, the right energy, the right passion,
yeah,
which is,
yeah.
that's clear. So,
Right. Thank you very much, Coach, for your time. So thanks
okay.
for this great session. I mean, I enjoyed the conversation. Really liked the insights. I hope a lot of people get to also learn about IKF Career 360, and they also try to implement this with the IKF team. And I hope you the success. And when I'll be there in Europe, we'll meet for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Okay. All the best. Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye bye.